Hello, hello out there. I'm Poetic Heretic, and today this is our Nine of Wands stream. We will be looking at Nine of Wands card, studying it, reflecting on it. As always, I'll be giving you my interpretation on it and then looking up other interpretations of it. Okay, our audio is good. So yes, I have, of course, the Rider-Waite-Smith and the Crowley-Thoth versions of the card here. And so today we will indeed be looking at the Nine of Wands card, studying it in depth, hopefully in depth. But first, our planetary invocation. Imagine, if you will, if you would like to participate, a ball of white light, a sphere of divine white light above your head. It may help to close your eyes and visualize it, and then imagine it circling your body, this protective divine white light. And now, on this day and hour of Mercury, we invoke the sublime intelligence and true perception of Mercury, us, our winged friend, with insight and clarity of mind. Shower upon us your dexterity of consciousness, so that we may realize, we may analyze, and synthesize the manifold aspects of our lives. And now, close your eyes if you would like, and imagine a blue-white light coming from Mercury, the energy of Mercury itself, covering you with its vibrations of mental clarity, perception, acuity, mental agility. Imagine the energy of Mercury showering you with its brilliant blue-white light, feeling it envelop your entire being, and know that you are connecting with this powerful planetary archetype. Okay, with that out of the way, now we can begin. Is it general reading? It is an analysis of the Nine of Wands card. So, indeed, this is the Rider-Waite-Smith version of the Nine of Wands, and we, of course, also have the Crowley-Thoth version, which we'll be looking at later, which gets a bit deeper. My interpretation of the Nine of Wands card is, as the title of this stream suggests, the final battle, preparing for the final battle. Some will say this is the wounded soldier, and with good reason. You can see he literally has like a bandage on his head, and so it can symbolize that, but it usually appears during times of great stress, great challenge, having to really push oneself to overcome some great obstacle, having to really fight for something that is not guaranteed to be so easily surmountable, or that is not guaranteed to be surmountable at all. I don't know if I want to say a whole lot about this before we dive into the general meanings of it, and then some of the, I guess, deeper meanings as we will get to more towards the end of the stream. But we can also note that, as we see here on the Thoth version of the card, that the astrological correspondence of this card is the moon in Sagittarius. And so it's interesting. It has this lunar quality to it, this more like emotional, subconscious, subtle quality, subtle perhaps quality to it, but like combined with the enthusiasm, the inspiration, the idealism, the vision, the fire of Sagittarius. So, of course, we'll be exploring a lot more of that later. I'm just kind of giving you a summary right now. And of course, it is a 9. So we have the 9th house activated here in this card. The 9th house of belief systems, idealism, spirituality, including things like astrology and tarot falling in the 9th house. The house of God, the house of government and legal proceedings. You know, all of these great big things essentially connecting in or being a part of the 9th house. Now, though this card's astrological correspondence is the moon in Sagittarius, yes. Again, I have to tell people, anyone who is going to watch my streams, I do not advise that you associate this card with Sagittarius because of it being a 9, because of the 9th house. I would only advise you associate it with that because of its astrological correspondence being the moon in Sagittarius. In other words, we don't want to conflate houses with signs. It poisons both of them. And I don't mean to offend anyone out there who likes that system. I mean, you do you. That's okay if you want to do that. I'm just saying that any student of mine or anyone who takes my advice is definitely going to get the advice that says, do not conflate signs with houses. You will pollute both, essentially. So keep that in mind as we proceed with this. All right, so let's not waste any time. Let's get right into the various sources of material that we have for the 9 of Wands. That's my little summary of it. And now we'll get into additional material on it. And of course, I'll give you my thoughts and perceptions on it. And see how that goes. I'll let you know if I agree or disagree or what I think of the stuff that we read. All right, so give this a moment to load, please. Actually, here's how we're going to do this today. We're going to start with an internet search, and then we're going to look at books later. We're just going to divide it into 2 sections. I think that's better ultimately. So we're going to start with websites, and then we're going to look at books later. So the first source is trustedpsychicmediums.com. All right. Nine of Wands Tarot Card and Its Meaning by Imelda Green. The Nine of Wands Tarot is the card of courage and resilience. It symbolizes heroism and patriotism, determination and commitment. It represents a test of faith or defending a cause. It's about protection, infallibility, and reliability. The Nine of Wands Tarot is depicted as an injured man clutching a staff. He is battle-weary, but the look on his face says that he will go to battle again any time should the need arise. He is protected by a wall of wands that surrounds him, but the expression on his face shows no trace of fear or weakness. He stands up for his beliefs and remains committed to the cause. He is determined to reach victory and overcome all obstacles, big and small, to reap what you truly deserve, just like the Ten of Cups. Hello there, Jack Cat, and welcome to the stream. When the Nine of Wands Tarot appears, it suggests that you are nearing completion of a particular task or a project, just like the Ace of Pentacles. But due to unavoidable circumstances, another set of challenges or setbacks pops up. This can rattle and unhinge you for a moment, but know that you have the talent, the skills, the intelligence, and the resources to overcome this difficulty. Don't you give up now. The Nine of Wands Tarot is just the encouragement and the ray of hope that you need to keep moving and keep trying. These challenges that are being presented to you now are the same things that will bring you to your bright future. Consider the Nine of Wands Tarot as a final test or a final challenge before you reach the culmination of all your hard work to reach the state likewise to the World Tarot card, for example. It encourages you to be flexible and strong in the face of adversity. It wants you to be patient and to keep your cool. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Don't stop until you become successful. The setbacks that you may have experienced in the past don't mean that you will experience the same ones all over again. Leave what belongs in the past right there. Work hard in the present so that you have a shot at a wonderful future. Trust in your abilities and in what the universe has in store for you. Turn over a new leaf and just keep pushing on. The Nine of Wands Tarot also wants you to adapt a risk-averse approach. Take calculated risks. Expect the worst, but create strong backup plans to minimize the damage. You need to be always one step ahead. Nine of Wands Tarot and love. When it comes to love and relationships, the Nine of Wands Tarot simply tells you that you are prepared to face challenges. When issues and problems plague your relationship, changes have to be made so that you can start feeling happy and inspired again. They can be small changes or they can be big changes. You have to start somewhere, and you have to start now. You may be feeling broken and hurt, but you will not hesitate to overcome the hurdles that keep coming. You are not letting your emotions get the better of you. Instead, you think about what will be the best thing to do for you and your relationship. You may be suffering and hurting, but you're just not ready to let go of your partner. You and your partner may just be going round in circles with nothing significant happening to the relationship, but you stick with each other and stay loyal to each other. If communication has always been your problem, try to find a more relaxed and more natural way to talk about your feelings. If money is an issue, try to come up with ideas to earn extra income together. Reach a compromise and set spending goals until you achieve a big break financially. If you feel like you're falling out of love, spend more time together and do all the things that you did when you and your partner were just starting out. Spice things up. Whatever it is, just try harder. So yes, this is, of course, all a bunch of, a lot of it, I guess, is pretty basic stuff, in my opinion, like general stuff. As I mentioned earlier, we will, of course, as usual, as of late, get deeper and deeper and deeper into the card and its symbolism as the stream goes on. We're just starting out with the simple stuff for now, just getting a general feel for it before we go deeper. When it comes to feelings, the Nine of Wands Tarot represents a pained and troubled mind. Did you say something particularly hurtful to your husband? Did you lash out at your boyfriend and now regretting every bad thing that came out of your mouth? Chances are he was hurt by your words, but if he can still find a way to look past the hurt and forgive you, he is definitely for keeps. You should hold on to him and make sure that you will take care of him in the relationship. When the Nine of Wands Tarot is placed in the reverse position, this indicates your strength is falling apart. Your relationship problems are just too much and you can no longer handle them. You've had enough and you are fine choosing to leave. You're done crying and hurting. Yeah, that's kind of how I interpret it reversed. Maybe I should have said more about this or something about this earlier. When I think of the Nine of Wands here, reversed, I think of the idea of losing the will to fight, losing faith. Keep in mind that ninth house, like losing one's belief in oneself, starting to doubt oneself, and that sort of thing, you know. The enthusiasm, the vision, the belief in yourself that you could overcome the great obstacle now is decreasing and fading and may even in some cases be almost completely gone. But I'm sure we'll get more into that as we go. Nine of Wands Tarot and money. When it comes to money and finances, the Nine of Wands Tarot indicates that worrying will not do you any good. It will not make your money woes disappear, nor will it put money in your savings account. It's important that you keep a logical way of thinking and plan your course of action to get out of this financial slump. It will not happen magically overnight. You have to work a lot and sacrifice a lot. But the good thing about this is that money can be earned, and if you work hard enough, you'll earn enough to get you out of this predicament. Stay strong and keep the faith. Better days are right ahead. Nine of Wands Tarot's meaning for the future. The Nine of Wands Tarot in the future position signifies conflicts, but conflicts that you can easily overcome. Bank on your endless supply of inner strength and just soldier on. Yes, I would say this is definitely a card that is much more about the power of belief as opposed to reason or logic. This is not a card of reason or logic. This, the Nine of Wands, is a card of belief. It is a card of the power of belief. The Nine of Wands and its meaning for health. The Nine of Wands is a minor arcana card that signifies you are only halfway through a particular battle when you draw the card in the upright position. There may be a point where you feel as if you are drained of energy, but the truth of the matter is that you only have to continue on for a short period of time to ultimately get what you have been aiming for. Obviously, this is then going to have an impact on your health, and the Nine of Wands is quite specific when it comes to what it is trying to tell you at that moment in time. For example, it is telling you that if you have been ill, that your energy has indeed been drained when it comes to your attempted recovery. You may also feel as if the entire thing has been pointless, but that is not necessarily the case. Instead, the card is attempting to tell you that you need to somehow pull together your last remnants of energy in order to make that final push, as that is going to get you over the top and to the other side. You simply cannot afford to give up when you are so close to starting to feel better, and be of the opinion that recovery is going to be possible if you are just open and willing to carry on fighting that little bit longer. At the same time, this card can indicate that you may be suffering from a recurring injury or illness, or even something that is chronic, and you have to take care over things. I think it's supposed to say of things. In the reverse position, the Nine of Wands is going to mean that you are just simply unable to carry on fighting, or even putting up this pretense that you are not suffering at all. It may be time to let your guard down and allow help to come from other angles or possibilities, because you cannot continue to pretend that everything is fine when that is clearly not the case. Furthermore, this card in the reverse position can also be a far stronger indication that an old illness or chronic illness is bothering you, and this has been an ongoing problem. This is not intended to make you feel depressed or down as such, but there is no doubt that you have some serious problems that have to be addressed. So you do have two different ideas to deal with when it comes to your health in the Nine of Wands. The recurring theme is that you are exhausted with the battle and trying to get better. But while the upright position tells you that you can do it, the reverse position is certainly more depressing than its prediction. It's a bit cold in this room, so I turned up my heater. The recurring theme is that, wait, I think we read that. That is not to say that you are going to become even iller than before. Iller, is that a word? More ill? I think maybe is whatever. But you certainly need to be able to take stock of what is going on as quickly as possible. My final thoughts on Nine of Wands Tarot. Don't let your fears and worries cloud your judgment or overwhelm you. Take it one step at a time, slowly but surely. Sometimes your fears only look and sound scary in your head. In real life, it's not so bad. But when it does get overwhelming, you don't have to force yourself to do it by yourself. Ask help. Never be afraid to ask for help. It does not mean that you're weak. It means that you're brave enough to acknowledge that there are just some things in life that you cannot do on your own. Some questions that the Nine of Wands Tarot wants you to reflect on. Are you ready enough to take this project to its final conclusion? Can you do it on your own, or will you be needing help? All right, so that site was slightly unsatisfying to me, to be honest, because it was very, very general. But I mean, I guess it was good for what it's worth. It had good advice, but let's see what else we have here. The next search result is biddytarot.com. Let's see what they have to say about the Nine of Wands. It was good. You liked it? Okay. That's good to know. Well, if you like that, then I think a lot of the other sources that we will get to, you will find even more likable, much better. All right, Nine of Wands tarot card meanings. Nine of Wands keywords. Upright. Resilience, courage, persistence, test of faith, boundaries. Reversed. Inner resources, struggle, overwhelm, defensive, paranoia. Yep, cool, I'm here to stay. Thank you, Jack Cat. I appreciate that. Yeah, Biddy Tarot here, which we're about to read right now. I have to say, even though a lot of times it seems like they are kind of more surfacey meanings, they actually are really, really good. I think they're usually number one in search results for a reason. Like, a lot of it may be kind of basic stuff, but I still look at Biddy Tarot to this day after nearly 4 years of studying tarot. So I think it's a really good source. All right, Nine of Wands description. The Nine of Wands shows an injured man clutching a wand. He looks over his shoulder towards the 8 wands that loom over him. He seems weary and worn, as though he has already been through a battle and now must face additional challenges with the presence of these 8 wands. As a 9, though, this is his final challenge before reaching his goal. He must endure this last test of his strength and character before reaching the finish line. Upright Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands comes as a sign that even in the face of adversity, you stand tall and strong. You may be on the edge of exhaustion, but you are resilient, persistent, and ready to do what it takes to get to the finish line. Right? That's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. All right. Hopefully that's a good thing. This card may also come when you feel battered and bruised, having endured significant challenges and struggles along your path. Just when you think you are making progress, you suffer another setback. The Nine of Wands asks you to trust that this is merely a test of your grit and resilience, and know that every time you overcome an obstacle, you're getting stronger. You have the inner resources necessary to overcome any difficulty you encounter, even though it may seem impossible at the time. See this 9 as an assurance that you will eventually prosper if you maintain your position. And if you do not succeed at first, then try again. The Nine of Wands encourages you to keep pushing. You are so close to the finish line. Even if you want to give up, this is your final challenge before you reach your goal. So don't let go of your hopes and dreams when you are so close to making them a reality. Stand firm in the face of your challenges, and you will achieve your goal. Others may try to oppose your plans, make things difficult for you, or even attack you for what you are putting out into the world. Often, they do it because they're jealous of your success or are projecting their own insecurities and fears on you. Don't let them get to you. You are a change maker, and you have a vital message to share in this world. Don't dim your light because of others' insecurities. It kind of reminds me, actually, and I don't know if this directly relates, but it reminds me of one of my main spiritual practices that I've mentioned before on this channel, which is simply to follow my excitement, to do the best, to follow my joy, follow my bliss, as they say. And the belief in yourself and the belief in doing that is necessary for that. Because when you really practice that, following your excitement, you have to have a certain element of trust in the universe, or like trust in the way that things naturally work, like trust and belief that things will work out for you in some way. And as I mentioned, this card, the Nine of Wands, is very much about belief as opposed to, say, reason or logic. It is that trust that somehow you can overcome things. And so it reminds me, because there have been times where in following my excitement or my bliss or joy or whatever, it has seemed like it's just to the point of absurdity. It's like, oh, come on, like this is just, I'm going around in circles. I'm never going to get anywhere. But what I found, interestingly enough, after having done this for quite a few years now, is that if you stick with it, even to the point of almost absurdity, sooner or later, as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you start getting somewhere. And that is what has happened in my life. I mean, my life continues to be filled with great challenges, of course, but at the same time, I continue to make progress. So it's interesting how that works. Are you a medium too? I am not. I'm not. If that ever changes, I'll let you know. Though I was, I don't know, in a meditation or two recently, I almost felt like I connected with my spirit guide. So that was interesting. But no, at this time, not a medium. I'm very intuitive. But not a medium. On a more positive note, you have people who support you. The Nine of Wands invites you to find your cheerleaders and personal bodyguards, those who will protect you from the ongoing challenges and cheer you on to the finish line. Even if others oppose you, you have many more people who support your cause. Let them help you. Finally, the advice of the Nine of Wands is to establish your boundaries and fiercely protect those lines. If you allowed others to stand in your way or deplete your energy, it is likely that you have not asserted yourself effectively with those people to protect yourself. Get clear on what you need in the situation to be successful and reach your goals, and then communicate those needs to others. On the same note, be aware that too many barriers will prevent others from getting close to you or helping you. Bring your conscious awareness to how you are proactively using boundaries to protect your energy. It's kind of interesting also to consider the card before the Nine of Wands, the Eight of Wands, and how it was all about swiftness and quick movement and things changing and happening very quickly, and often also like travel and relocation. So it's like things are happening very quickly in this story of the wand suit. And now we have the Nine of Wands, where those quick changes, those swift developments have evolved into or have become this great battle, this great challenge. The final battle has arrived. And we also see that, perhaps I should have mentioned this earlier, with the card being a 9 and 9s being endings. 9s are endings, but then whereas 10s, as we will have the 10 of Wands in our next stream about this, or in this series, 10s are completion. So 9s are endings, 10s are completion. And I suppose we really see that culmination in the 10 of Wands, which we'll be looking at in 2 weeks. So won't that be interesting? All right. Reverse Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands reverse suggests that you are struggling to keep working towards your goal. The challenges on your path are relentless, pummeling you with setback after setback. You don't know if you can cope with it anymore and may be ready to give up. Just know that you are oh so close to completing this challenge. Draw upon your internal resources, your resilience, inner courage, positive self-talk, and mindset to keep you going. You have it in you to turn this challenging situation into a fantastic success and to help others facing similar hurdles. Keep fighting, you've got this. The Nine of Wands reverse can also appear when you feel overcome by your responsibilities or lack the support of those around you. It seems as if life is all work and no play. If you know this is a temporary setback, you may just need to push through it for now so you can get to the finish line. Also, make sure you do not take on any other commitments at this stage until you have more control over your circumstances. If you cannot see any end in sight, then get help. Hire a personal assistant or a house cleaner. Enlist the support of your loved ones, or work with a coach or therapist to help you manage. Sometimes, the reverse Nine of Wands can indicate paranoia, defensiveness, and concern that everyone is out to get you. You may think you are always under attack by the same group of people, or you are unfairly targeted. Often, this is a sign of fear from within you rather than an actual external threat. Focus on your own game and don't worry about what other people are thinking or saying about you. Okay, good stuff. That is it for that site. So yeah, I feel like I came across that somewhere before as well, this idea that sometimes the Nine of Wands can signify paranoia, always being on the defensive, and maybe I need to relax that somewhat when it shows up in readings. Okay, so next up is Keen.com. Let's see, I think at about the either the 45-minute or 1 hour mark, which we're almost to the half-hour mark right now, we'll transition to books. We'll start looking at books and go a bit deeper. Yeah, probably at the 45-minute mark, I think. All right, Keen.com, the Nine of Wands Tarot card. When you are hanging in there, persevering under pressure and holding on despite the forces pulling at the other end of your rope, expect the Nine of Wands to appear in your tarot reading. This card is either a welcome sign that you are truly holding your own in a long-term project, or that you are needlessly hanging on to a point of view that is past its time. A man stands alone, clutching his wooden staff. His posture is erect with a wary look on his face as he glances over his shoulder. Standing behind him are 8 wooden staffs. They seem to be firmly planted. His expression tells us that they are somehow responsible for the bandage that is wrapped around his forehead. He has been in battle. He has suffered a wound, but he is still standing, alert, and as straight and strong as those other wands aligned behind him. Beyond this fence of wooden staffs is a pristine and peaceful landscape of verdant green hills and endless blue skies. This is the rare tarot card that exists in 3-dimensional space. What that means is that the man in the card may have those wands as his arsenal for a battle, and the battle may be taking place outside of the card. Or the wounded man is leaving a world beyond the card and is only stopping for a moment of rest before battling to break beyond into the peaceful landscape deep within the card. This tarot card reveals a pause without surrender in a battle that you fill with persistence. Wands represent our creativity. The walking staff is a visual metaphor for the thing we carry with us that makes our journey through life easier. The wounded man is you, battling. Whether it is a divorce, office politics, or a nosy neighbor, the battle has not beaten you when the Nine of Wands appears. The placid landscape itself may represent boredom, and the wounded man represents you wanting to step out of the tarot card and into real life. Find your creative voice and do battle by challenging your own excellence. Meaning in past, present, and future positions. Every tarot reading is broken down into looking at the past, assessing the present, and foretelling the future. Where each card lands can change both the meaning of the card and the impact it has on you. As usual at this point on this website, I have to remind the viewer that not every tarot spread out there has past, present, and future positions. The Nine of Wands in the past position indicates that you had intense struggles and a dogged persistence to get where you are now. Often, people who are done with a struggle want to forget about it and are happy to move on. The Nine of Wands in the past position reminds you to know and trust your own strength and determination. It is where you came from, after all. Yes, speaking of which, I forgot to mention this earlier. In the Thoth deck, the Nine of Wands is known as Strength. As you can see there at the bottom of the card, that should be visible. Unless you're watching on a very, very tiny screen. All right. When this card is in the present position, it is an acknowledgement that you are in the middle of a great struggle. You might not realize that your efforts are out of the ordinary. Your battle may seem so obviously the right thing to do that you do not realize how great and against the odds it truly is. Whether it is raising a child with learning disabilities or working hard to finish your master's thesis, you really have to be persistent in what you do to manifest the Nine of Wands in the present position. Yes, and let us remember the double-edged sword of the power of belief that I would say this card talks about a lot. So on the one hand, the power of belief can carry you very, very far. Very far. It can energize you, calling forth all the forces of your inner self and manifest great, wonderful things. But the shadow side of it is that one can become so carried away with the sort of rapturous exaltation of the power of belief that one starts slipping into delusion and not living in reality. And then you end up getting yourself into trouble, because if you don't see reality, you can't properly assess challenges or even very real dangers that could then end up getting you hurt. So keep that in mind, I would suggest. When this card is in the future position, prepare now for the current turmoil to turn into a struggle. If things are peaceful now, gather strength for the battle that may begin soon. Plan now on how to diffuse tension so that a coming disagreement does not turn into a protracted fight. The battles that we win most decidedly are the ones that we anticipate and actually manage to avoid. Card combinations. When the spread of tarot cards are laid out for a reading, each card informs those around it. When a lot of swords cards are in a reading with a 9 of wands, your battles are particularly angry and sharp words may mark sharp words mark the high and low points. When other wand cards are present, your struggles involve an extra dose of creativity. Lots of cups, expect there to be deep emotional attachment to the struggle you have gone through, are in now, or will be seeing arise in the future. When cards from the suit of pentacles dominate a reading that includes the 9 of wands, the arguments in your life have been or will be about money or personal property at their core. The 9 of wands has a special relationship with 2 of the major arcana tarot cards, the Hermit and the Sun. The Hermit, numbered 9 in the tarot deck, represents the solitude aspect of fighting your battle alone. The Sun, numbered 19 in the tarot deck, represents the joy of complete victory and the narcissism of the child who is the center of his or her own universe. When these cards accompany your tarot reading, they affirm that this battle is a myopic necessity on your part. You have chosen this battle and persist in it to give your life meaning. When the 9 of wands is in a reading that features the Fool, your great struggle has, at its core, the desire for freedom. Some cards in the major arcana represent other people when they interact with the 9 of wands. Often they represent the person you are dealing with. When the Magician card appears, you are battling with a liar who is powerfully convincing. The Emperor is a card of intense masculine certainty and often indicates a powerful authority figure is in the way of your interests. The Empress indicates a struggle with the Muse when it appears in your tarot reading along with the 9 of wands. If you are an artist, writer, or struggling with some other creative project, the appearance of the Empress validates the tough time you are having with your creative project and also indicates that the reason it is so tough is that you are on the verge of creating a masterpiece. Yes, I have to say, it is those most challenging aspects of life when it's really rough and tough that are some of the most powerful things that shape us into what we are, that really help us develop our abilities. I think we need some extra light. That really help us become literally stronger, develop more strength, as this card is known in the Thoth deck. Also, by the way, while we are between websites, I know that sometimes people show up to these streams thinking that I'm doing tarot readings. I am not, but if you do want a tarot reading, I do that every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time on this channel. So look for me then, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Adjust your time zone accordingly. And I do them for a donation of any amount. So you could pay as little as $1 and I'll give you a tarot reading at that time. All right, so the next site, actually, let's look now more specifically at the Thoth version of the card. We will search for that. We will go to Corax.com. All right. What the fuck? I don't know. What happened? All right. Which, by the way, we're going to look at websites until about the 45-minute mark. Then we will look at books for about another 45 minutes. And then we're going to look in the final part of the stream at esotericmeanings.com, where they get really into the in-depth symbolism of the Thoth version of the card. And so we will, that's like about as deep as we can go at this time. And that is where we will conclude it. Thought was a reading. You thought all of this was a reading? This is definitely not a reading. But tarot reading all this time. Oh no. I don't think I would do a reading that lasted this long unless it was like some super important, complex issue. Nope. I do those every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. These are, I guess, classes, sort of informal classes, I suppose, if you want to call them that, on the tarot cards for those who want to learn more about the tarot, whether for your own spiritual development or I should say, if you want to do your own readings, whether for yourself or other people. So, like, I don't believe in hoarding all the knowledge to myself. I also like to share my knowledge with other people. That's probably one of the single most exciting things in my life, is like sharing my knowledge, like gaining knowledge and then sharing it with other people. So I thought it was different. See ya. Oh, you're leaving? All right. Well, thank you for being here, I guess. I understand. Thank you for understanding. All right. So next we look at Corax.com. Nine of Wands, Strength. Tree of Life, Yesod through Fire. Astrology, Moon in the second decan of Sagittarius. Now, the fiery wands have reached the happy 9, the number that reflects on itself, entering the fields of Yesod, imagination and reflection back in the middle of the Tree of Life. Thus, the 9 of Wands remembers the own qualities, showing the full powers of the fiery element rising again. So the card shows strength, determination, and discipline, preparing itself for the final step to completion. The shadow side of the card, that's weird, it says sight, but I'm sure it's supposed to say side. The shadow side of the card implies a warning that we should use our spiritual consciousness to concentrate on our inner strength and master our will, and made effective in the world we live in. Drive, spiritual truth, realization. Light, combination of the consciousness with the unconsciousness. Great success, but with strife and energy. Victory preceded by apprehension and fear. Shadow, conflicts, contradictions. All right, there we go. So that was short and sweet as usual from that site. Let's see, tarotx.net. Does that have what we were looking for? Let us see. Geez, I don't know. Maybe I should just keep up the charade in the future that I'm simply doing a tarot reading during these streams. I don't know. Which, I mean, I could do if I really wanted to. I guess I could do tarot readings that much more often each week. I guess I'd probably make more money that way too, but I wouldn't be living my truth. I wouldn't be doing what really makes me happy. And in time, what little extra money I would make from that would become blatantly obvious to not be worth it. So let's see. All right, this was the site that like plagiarized last time we looked at it, so we won't go there. Bookofthoth.net. No. We'll be looking at the Book of Thoth, the actual Book of Thoth later. Angelpaths.com. They have to come through for us. All right. The Nine of Wands. When we reach deep inside ourselves with a heart that is unafraid and accepting, we will discover new depths of strength and power. These deep reaches of wisdom, which lay dormant within the subconscious until we are brave enough to search them out, will bring balance and equilibrium. And from new centeredness will arise an unshakable trust in ourselves that will carry us forward through life. It's true that when we travel deep inside ourselves, we will also find material that we might prefer to leave unacknowledged, but the Nine of Wands, Lord of Strength, reminds us that in being true to ourselves, we release energies that will help us to deal with whatever we find within. And after all, whatever lies inside our own subconscious is, for better or for worse, a part of us. When the Nine of Wands turns up in a reading, we can be reassured that we have what it takes to get by. Even in times of stress and difficulty, inner strength will rise up to guide us forward toward our goals. And in the process, we shall learn more about ourselves and our abilities, gaining a new all-around perspective which brings security and self-confidence. This card tells us to trust ourselves. We have everything we need. There is no necessity to analyze our question. Correction. There is no necessity to analyze nor question, and absolutely no excuse to give into doubt. Working with the Nine of Wands. The Lord of Strength relates to our own inner strength and power. When he comes up, we need to allow ourselves to be reminded of our personal wealth of experience, knowledge, and talents. This is something that we rarely take time to take out to assess and consider. Yet since we are constantly adding to it, it is something we should sum up as often as our bank accounts. When we get a clear view of our own strengths, we gather to us a new sense of self-confidence, holding ourselves in high esteem, and treating ourselves as good and trusted friends. This fundamental acceptance of ourselves is essential to allow us a long-term feeling of well-being and optimism. So on a day ruled by the Lord of Strength, we must count our personal strengths. This obviously raises a simple question. How do you know what is strong? The quickest way to identify strengths is to look at the hardest experiences of your life and assess how you feel you handled them. If you maintain a non-judgmental and objective perspective upon your actions, then you'll see that, over the years, you have learned to deal with trials and tribulations increasingly efficiently. Every single time you pass through a trying experience, you will have gathered more understanding about how to approach difficulties and resolve them. Your mistakes have special messages for you. To be able to admit you could have dealt with the situation better is, if you allow it to be, one of the most useful revelations of your life. Rather than feeling bad about your actions, allow yourself to consider what would have improved the outcome. Once you have done this, you'll store that away as new knowledge, and next time a similar situation occurs, you'll remember and act accordingly. Never be afraid of assessing your mistakes. There's one very big thing to be said for them. They are all yours, and they can be teachers if you let them be. Having worked through the obvious strengths and frailties, go looking for the more subtle aspects of strength: empathy, compassion, patience, morality, humor, respect, honesty, understanding, sensitivity. There are many, many things that we might not at first count among our strengths that make us stronger people. Affirmation. I acknowledge and grow into my strength. All right, and that is what we have there. And it just changed to the hour of the moon here. The hour of the moon. How fitting with this card being the moon in Sagittarius. All right, so we're going to take a brief little break, and then we're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so looking at books, on like book entries on the Nine of Wands, digging a little bit deeper into it as we learn more about this card. Which, again, I know I've said this before in previous streams, but I continue to be surprised that it is not obvious, or not more obvious to more people, that these streams are not, or that these streams are analysis of a specific card, and people think I'm doing readings. I don't understand that, because when you look at the title of the stream, I would think it would be obvious. So I don't know. I guess if I'm to practice my authenticity, I must admit, I must confess that I feel a little bit weird about that. I mean, I'm not wanting to offend anyone, but at the same time, it's almost offensive to me. But, you know, whatever. So give me one moment. I need a Kleenex, allergies, and then we shall continue. Okay, so I am back. Why does it look like I'm lagging on screen right now? I don't know, but all right, so let us turn to some book material on the Nine of Wands. And I think it will be fitting to start as usual when we get into book material with the Biddy Tarot ebook. So we looked at the website earlier. Now we will look at their ebook. All right. Nine of Wands. Description. The Nine of Wands depicts a weary, injured man who holds a staff as though in a posture of final defense. He is protected by a number of wands propped up like a wall behind him. This card indicates struggle and the need to call up out of ourselves the strength needed to overcome a challenge which may seem insurmountable. The man in the card has survived many battles and even wears a bandage around his head. Yet in his eye is the determination to overcome this final challenge to his accomplishment and victory. Quack. Hey, what's up, Ryan? Welcome to this Nine of Wands stream. Meanings. When we encounter the Nine of Wands, we are often in the midst of a challenge that appeared just when we thought all was won, at the moment before our final accomplishment of a creative task or goal. The card indicates that we have the inner resources necessary to overcome any difficulty we encounter, even though it may seem impossible at the time. How often do we give up just before we finally achieve success? This card is a sign of hope and encouragement that if we stand firm and strong against challenge, we will achieve our goal. The challenges before us are only the last bit of darkness before the break of wonderful dawn. It's always darkest before the dawn, as they say. The figure on the Nine of Wands has definitely been through some tough times. His head and arm are bandaged, and he's leaning on a quote-unquote crutch. This fighter has seen some battles, but he's still standing. He's hurt, but he's not down. When we have had a bad experience, we feel weary and battle-scarred. Even if we aren't hurt physically, our psyches are wounded. Our openness, innocence, and trust is gone, replaced by a wary defensiveness. Just doing some dishes and tidying the house, then have some farm chores to do. Getting those day-to-day activities done. Yes, indeed. I'm well familiar with that. I may not be familiar with farm chores, but I'm familiar with just day-to-day chores to keep everything going. Sixth house stuff in astrology. In readings, the Nine of Wands can be a warning that you must proceed carefully. Keep a watchful eye because there is the possibility that you will be hurt. If you have already been burned, you know what this man is feeling. Life's lessons can be hard sometimes, especially when hopes have been dashed. It is natural to feel defensive at such times, but try to avoid becoming bitter. Your experience has wounded you, but it has strengthened you as well. Yeah, I would say in conjunction with that, to avoid becoming bitter, own your woundedness. I think that, maybe I'm wrong, but at least in my experience, bitterness seems to only result from being willing to own your woundedness. Because of course the ego always wants to maintain control of things. It's always like, no, I can't lose control. And it's like, well, I would submit that the ego can have its control while owning one's woundedness simultaneously. I would say that there's a certain kind of control you can have through that authenticity. So that is what I would suggest. My recent history is very relatable to this card. Is it? Most people I know would be extremely bitter and some even hateful after. Yeah, which it's not even to criticize or attack the idea of bitterness. If one finds themselves bitter, my suggestion would be recognize that bitterness as an aspect of yourself and then caretake that aspect, include it as a part of yourself. Because again, so much of the suffering in the world is caused by people simply resisting what they actually feel or what they actually are. So much suffering is caused by unnecessary resistance, and people don't realize that they're doing it. And so that has to be made conscious. All in 1 month, they lost their job and after lost their home due to situations out of their control. December of 2019, I had lost my construction job due to layoffs. Yeah, the wounded soldier, and then you're placed into this Nine of Wands position where you're kind of forced to fight, like forced to fight a great battle. And will you overcome it? You don't actually know, but you have to believe, essentially. You have to, I would say, you have to conjure the power of belief in that scenario. As we talked about earlier, this card's association with the ninth house, connecting it very much to belief and the power of belief, and then the fire element as well. So let us continue. I think the sun's coming back out. Do we need that light on right now? I don't know. But let's see. Strength is the other aspect of the Nine of Wands. This fighter is tough. He has the physical stamina and the inner drive to persist despite all setbacks. In The Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger plays an android from the future who never gives up. In the end, he is nothing but a wire framework with glowing eyes, but he still keeps coming, dragging himself along the floor to his goal. This is the spirit of the Nine of Wands. This card tells you to keep going no matter what. That is so weird because the other day, or maybe even just last night, for some reason, this idea of like Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator popped into my head. I've never even seen those movies, or maybe I saw like one of them a long time ago. I can't remember, but like I've never even seen those movies, and yet suddenly that popped into my head, and now here we are talking about it in connection with the Nine of Wands. I think that's kind of funny. If everyone and everything seems to be against you right now, don't give up. Within you are the hidden reserves you need to prevail. All right, let me read the chat since we're on to the next page. Then a week later, I came home to find out my roommate had broken some rules of our signed tenant agreement. Ye gods. That sounds, there's probably some other tarot cards I could think of that would match that energy. And because I was co-signer, I was given two choices: either stay and pay the full rent amount, which without a job I can no longer pay, or leave with my roommate. But I'm not angry at my roomie. We actually still planning getting a new place together in the future. Wait, so your roommate had broken some rules of your signed tenant agreement, but you're not angry. You're still planning getting a new place together in the future. Oh, that's good. I mean, no point in holding a grudge. Disappointed originally, yes, but not vengeful, angry towards him. Yeah, that's good that you can do that. I find that unfortunately with me, or well, fortunately or unfortunately, I guess depending on how you look at it, my obsession with justice and rightness and fairness causes me to feel like if I'm to be authentic, I basically have no choice but to hold on to many things. But that also ends up being a way in which I can sooner or later let go of things or make more peace with things simply by acknowledging the reality of them, if that makes sense, and the reality of how I feel about them. But I don't know. There's, in astrology, we see this idea, especially this like very Piscean vibe. And interestingly enough, you, Ryan, I recall, are a Pisces moon. This Piscean energy of forgiveness and compassion and letting go. And so that's, I I mean, I would say that's a very real thing. But I also kind of envy those who are able to use that energy, or who are able to, I guess, authentically be with or be one with that energy, because I can't really do that. I've tried, and I have failed miserably, but I guess that's just my path in life. All right. In the following week, you may feel that everyone is on your back for one reason or another. It seems as if everyone is attacking you when you feel you have done very little wrong. As such, you are likely to feel defensive and cautious around each person, worried about what may come next. However, ask yourself whether this caution and defensiveness is really warranted. It actually reminds me of the current aftermath of the terrorist attacks. I guess this was written soon after 9/11. I think that certainly many people are quite nervous about the going-ons around them at this current time. We have seen some threats arise in many different areas of the world, especially America, and it is certainly keeping us on our toes. While it is important to keep alert and aware, we still need to live our lives and carry on without too much panic. When we do start to panic, we give in to those terrorists, and we can also make it unpleasant for those around us with our heightened levels of stress and anxiousness. Interesting. Sir, I have a question. I want to have Pani Puri. Can you tell me when will be it possible to have it? If you are wanting a tarot reading, I do tarot readings every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time for a donation of any amount. So you can come by on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and I'll be happy to give you a reading on that, or any other question of your choice. All right, let's see. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Like what this entry in this book, this ebook, just said about, like, if you don't carry on with your life when under threat from, in this case, I guess terrorism or theoretical threat or whatever, then in a way you're giving them your power, and you're losing your own power. It's an interesting concept. Okay, sir, stay positive, stay blessed. Thank you. You as well. Thank you for stopping in. All right, let's see. The number 9 is the number of completion. It's actually the number of endings, but it is the final stage of all the numbers that have come before it. In this number, we also see tiny little seeds of new beginnings being planted to take root. I don't know. I kind of think that that's more what we see with the 10s. Like, I've always read 9s as endings, and 10s are completion, and also have the implication of a new beginning. All right, let's see. The 9 of Wands represents a man who has been knocked down and around, beaten, yet he has overcome all that has gone before. He has fought the battle and won. He appears drained and weary as he leans on his wand, but is ready to go to battle again. He stands up for what he believes in and holds firm in those beliefs. He is secure in who he is. So I guess perhaps the 9 of Wands in some contexts can talk about being overly anxious and uneasy, and feeling under threat, but in other contexts can talk about having strong beliefs and being sure of yourself and sure of who you are. So, as always, in any tarot reading, the context of the reading is hugely important. So always pay attention to the other cards, pay attention to your intuition, and pay indeed very close attention to the question being asked or the subject for which you're doing a reading. Not only that, but 9 is odd and 10 is even. Yeah, that's kind of another point with that. It's like there's an implication that there should be one more. All right, so where were we? Being prepared, eventual victory with more fighting, defense of oneself, strong opposing of those who do you wrong. Strength, discipline, wisdom from experience, dedication, self-confidence, stability, done is best, success is likely. Resilience, be patient and vigilant. Be assured that you will eventually prosper if you maintain your position. Accept responsibilities. Being ready for the next fight, to such an extent that the enemy might have already surrendered, but this goes by unnoticed. Keeping his eyes on the enemy. The man is scarred, though. Although he has previously defeated his enemies, perhaps he is damaged/lacking in something. The Nine of Wands indicates strength. You will be opposed by secret enemies and your interests will be questioned. Unexpected difficulties with all situations. It will be necessary, then, to have support available to help you overcome these obstacles. Want effort to bear fruit, to socialize, circulate, and be out with others, and your health or that of another to improve. If you don't succeed at first, try again. Also, expect good news concerning business, love, or finances. Personally, my anxiety really does affect my life. Me too. I literally sit awake in bed in the mornings knowing I should be up and about, knowing I should be doing things, but 9 out of 10 times I can't. Ryan, I have so been there. Instead, I give in to my anxiety and go back to bed or go back to doing something else non-productive. Yeah, I know the feeling. I do. Yeah. I mean, I literally have an anxiety disorder. I'm on medication for it, and the medication only helps to a slight extent. I know exactly what you're talking about. There used to be times in my life where, I guess before I got more of a handle on it, where everything was just so hard that I just sort of shut down. And my anxiety was so great that I just isolated myself more and more and more. Back when I had more of an option to isolate or not isolate myself. And that was well before this COVID-19 thing got going. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like, I guess my advice from having experienced like something quite similar to what you described, or at least what has helped me, is know when to not push yourself and know when to push yourself. Like, there are times, or actually I still have to deal with this to this day, where like I know that the psychological wisdom, or pretty much the psychological consensus, is that you have to push through your anxiety if you're going to conquer it. You have to basically expose yourself to the things that you're afraid of. However, there also comes a point where it is not self-loving to do that, to push yourself too hard. And so the challenge that I've been dealing with lately is figuring out what is that line, because on one level, you do need to push yourself through your anxiety. I believe that's my advice anyway. You do need to push yourself to face your fears, but it's like if you really feel for it, there's a certain readiness to do that. There's like, okay, I'm scared by this, but I'm going to do it anyway. There's also the situation where it's just too damn intense, and to push yourself through it anyway would in fact be bulldozing yourself. If you don't know what bulldozing is, look up Teal Swan's video on it here on YouTube. Search Teal Swan bulldozing and you will find it. But basically, it's not self-loving then to push yourself that hard, even in the name of getting through anxiety. Because I've also seen people who suffer from anxiety talk about how like there are days where they just can't push themselves through it anymore. And I think, yeah, I know what that's like, because I've played that whole game too. And it is hard, but that's what I mean. It's like you have to give yourself a break, but you also have to at least sometimes face your fears, or at least try to push through. Believe me, I know it's hard. Like, I mean, I'm someone who deals with a lifetime of trauma. And I think the only reason I'm even like able to sit and do a stream like this today, even able to do this much from my home, is because of all the spiritual work I've done on myself for years now, but especially in like the past like 2 years or so. So I know what it's like. It's not easy. And I really empathize with those who have it far worse than I do, because there are people out there whose anxiety is so bad that like they even just the act of getting out of bed will really, get their heart racing and get them in an absolutely, terrified state. Let's see. Or I leave for work later than I originally intended. Like I'd wake and want to be on the road driving by 5:15 a.m. and I don't get into my car until 5:40 a.m. Thanks, Mr. Poetic, for opening up and understanding what I mean. Yeah, no problem, Ryan. Thank you for bringing that up. And it, interestingly enough, it does more or less tie into the Nine of Wands card that we're looking at today here. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to, on one level, yes, explore the theoretical, philosophical, sort of more abstract meanings and symbolism of these occult subjects. But on another level, I'm here to bring it down to earth and talk about real issues, like things that actually legitimately affect people on a day-to-day basis. I'm here to be a revolutionary. I'm not here to just, sort of sit by and be like, today we're going to read this or whatever. I'm here to fight for real change. And if I can't succeed in that, then I will die trying. All right. One last test or challenge remains. You feel as if you've come to the end of your fighting powers, but you have skill and determination in reserve. You're actually in a position of strength. Although you'll need to draw on all your courage and abilities, you prevail. Be patient. Keep your own counsel. Once the last obstacle is overcome, you're home free. Health issues, head injury, shoulder, knee, ankle, jaw. TMJ. What does that mean? Bladder meridian. Discipline. You need to be disciplined. The strength of your will, character, and body may soon be tested. Gather and preserve your resources now so you may confidently defend your position later. Stay faithful to your purpose. Keywords: courage, persistence, advantage, stability. Reversed. The Nine of Wands reversed suggests that you may be hesitant to make a long-term commitment. You may be feeling as if life is all work and no play, and you may feel overcome by responsibilities or a lack of support from those around you. As such, you are hesitant to make any commitments in fear that the responsibilities will become all too much. Be careful also of dwelling on past frustrations and grievances. Just try to let go. You may also be more inclined to be a little on edge and on the defensive. The boundaries you have set around yourself are now becoming your cage, locking you into your old habits and behaviors. Be careful not to assume things or make hasty judgments. Lighten up a little and return to the Eight of Wands, where you take life as it comes in all its various forms. Go with the flow and release yourself of the pressures you are feeling. A holiday or a break might do you some good, where you can re-energize and rejuvenate yourself. All right. So that is what we have for that book. Let's see. Also, I sent you a PM on your Facebook page. Oh no, I never go on Facebook. I don't know how often you use that, but I was just wanting to chat, so I don't feel bad about not seeing it or being too busy to respond. Oh no, I'd like to check that out. Yeah, I'll have to. Like, I don't normally go on Facebook because for one reason I just don't really like it, but also because it's a bit much, like because of, I don't know, all the connections that I had / still have on there. I don't know, but no, I'd like to check that out. So yeah, speaking of pushing myself through anxiety, I'll probably push myself through my anxiety to go do that sometime soon. But I mean, can also, if you ever want to get on Twitter, if you want to make a Twitter account, or if you have one, and you can tweet me or even DM me on there. I usually check that stuff out fairly often. All right, so let's look at our next source here. Sometimes I'll have a tweet and it'll show that someone replied to it, but then I go to look and there's nothing there. And I'm like, who tweeted me and why is it not showing me? And I'm thinking, well, I'd like to reply to this person, but I can't even access their tweet. So I don't know, I guess people need to check their settings or something, unless it's just some glitch on Twitter's part. I don't know. Mostly just use the Messenger app. Ooh, good idea. I do have a Twitter, but I never use it, so that can be a good reason to log in. Yeah, if you wanna message me on Twitter, feel free. But yeah, I guess I could just open up Messenger on my phone, and then I don't have to see like everything else on Facebook. Yeah, geez, people probably think I'm like some antisocial creature here. I swear I'm not antisocial, or at least I'm not that antisocial. I just suffer from severe anxiety. But whatever. I have to face those fears sooner or later, I suppose, if I'm to be the person I am learning to be. So this is Path of the Fool by Michael Dessarion. This book's entry on the Nine of Wands. Endurance, persistence, tenacity, stamina, resolve, strength, consistency, concentration, courage, indomitable will, experience, maturity, wisdom, patience, faith in oneself, hard work, long-term vision, going the distance, preparation, alertness, completion, results coming in, finale. Negative. Period of testing and evaluation, attachment, hardness, intractability, defensiveness, gluttony, avarice, vanity, crudity, prejudice. Reversed. Weakness, defeat, loss, waste, exhaustion, dashed prospects, being passed over, losing control, authority relinquished, status threatened, influence rejected, advice overruled, efforts blocked and ignored, energy misdirected, being compelled to let go and give up, recognition denied, awards not forthcoming, demotion, ideas stolen, years of work proved fruitless, prevarication, hesitation, procrastination, partial commitment, no long-term vision, abandonment, bad judgments, incompetence, unfinished projects, taking shortcuts, striking prematurely, caving in, loss of faith, major alteration in convictions, last-minute doubts, pessimism, dejection, illness. All right, so that is what we have there. Also, I just remembered that the last did one of these streams, I think for our final analysis on esotericmeanings.com, that only took us about 20 minutes rather than 30 minutes. So I'm actually going to go until the hour and 40 mark looking at book material, or I plan to go until about that point looking at books. So we shall see what happens. But I can't recall actually hearing it, but I feel like I've heard those words. He's going the distance, he's going for speed. Huh. Interesting. All right, so next we shall be looking at a physical book, The Crowley Tarot, right here by Akron and Heyo Banzaf. Here it is. A very, very good book on the Crowley Thoth Tarot. All right, so entry on the Nine of Wands. Not written by Crowley? No. But we will, of course, as always, look at Crowley's Book of Thoth entry on the Nine of Wands, which, of course, is indeed written by Crowley. We'll be getting to that here shortly, actually. All right. Now I have to, since I don't have a microphone stand yet, I have to position this a little bit oddly so that I can read it comfortably and maintain at least somewhat good audio quality. So here we go. Nine of Wands, strength, the flames of harmony, instinct, spiritual truth, the pressing search for that which is different, goal, marriage between heaven and earth, unification of conscious and unconscious powers, light, intellectual and emotional harmony, shadow, contradictions, psychological injuries, quality, cosmic networking, architecture of an esoteric image of the world. The Nine of Wands have transformed themselves into arrows in the picture. They have penetrated from the idea, Mercury, through the brain waves, Eight of Wands, into the realm of intuition, Sagittarius, now reaching the original sources of the feminine. We see 4 arrows crossed over another 4 arrows, with their direction pointing downwards as a symbol of integration into the unconscious, Moon. The vertical lance in the middle with its tip pointing upwards is the sign of the will to develop itself and thereby put into action that which is within us. Since the sun reflects the urge of humanity to develop itself in its creative power, it is connected with the uppermost tip. However, the deep secrets in which the sun is grounded are to be found on the end of the lance representing the night side of the moon. Energetically, this card embodies the contact with the inner creative powers. The moon and sun want to develop both principles, feminine/masculine. It is their goal to reunite the divine intensive dimension of the fire element, day, with the inner longing, night. In the inner experience, we sense the harmony between conscious wanting, sun, and unconscious striving, moon. Seen psychologically, this triggers an intensified feeling of life and leads to convincing expressions in the external world, whereby something creative can be manifested. On the professional level, the 9 symbolizes stability through transformation. This means we experience a constant and willful change at our place of work, without coming into conflict with essential principles in the process. In order to keep this balance, it is necessary that we reflect upon our inner strength, from which we can respond to external changes with composure. This card connects alert attention with quick reactions. In the area of our relationships, the strength resulting from the connection of the masculine with the feminine develops within us. This can indicate a new encounter with the opposite sex, or it can express that we search for and find the innermost emotional connection to the contrasting sexuality, animus/anima, that lives within us. Astrology, Moon in Sagittarius, Tree of Life, Yesod, reflection through fire, the spiritual fire as a sign of emotional abundance. Yi King, 61, Kung Fu, inmost sincerity. Analogies, the flames of the Holy Spirit or the Star of Bethlehem as symbol of inner fulfillment. Keywords, energy and tension created in the connection of the masculine and the feminine. All right, so that's what we have there. So that is a rather delightful book. And next, let's see, I think in the usual sequence, the next book we typically look at is 78 Degrees of Wisdom. So let us see. Which again, when it comes to the symbolism of the Crowley Thoth version of the card, we will as always be looking in depth at that in the final part of the stream when we get to esotericmeanings.com. Okay. 78 Degrees of Wisdom, 9 of Wands. The 9 show how the suits deal with problems and the compromises they demand. Fire implies great strength, physical power, mental alertness. Emotionally, however, this predilection to fighting can trap wands and patterns of conflicts. In the 9, we see again the image of someone who has faced a lot of opposition from others and from life. Rather than take it on himself, however, he has fought back. The act of fighting has developed his strength so that the picture shows someone muscular and keen-eyed. The wands behind him can represent his resources in life, or else his problems looming up behind him. Either way, he is ready for the next fight. Notice, however, his rigid posture, the stiffness and the raised shoulder. Notice also the bandage around his head, indicating a psychic wound. The battler is not a whole person. Whether by necessity or habit, he has closed off awareness of life beyond conflict, and now looks only for the next fight, while his eyes see only the enemy, sometimes even after the enemy has surrendered. Reversed. Again, alternatives. First, the defense fails. The obstacles and problems grow too great for his strength to hold them back. The other meaning, however, is that of looking for some different approach. We should not assume the card always advises us to give up fighting. To abandon defensiveness means taking a great risk. For what happens if the problems we have kept at bay for so long rush up at us? Context is everything, and sometimes the context demands those powerful shoulders and sharp eyes. And yet, observe how much energy the person uses up simply keeping himself tense and ready for battle. In specific readings, the true implications of this card can only become clear through seeing it combine with other cards. Oh geez, I forgot I left the water running in the kitchen sink. I got distracted by vacuuming the rugs. That's never good. Oh, geez. All right, so that is that entry. All right, and now it is indeed time for the aforementioned Book of Thoth entry on the 9 of Wands by Aleister Crowley himself. So let me pull that up. Need to get it just right on my screen, and it's going to take a bit, I think. Okay, here we go. Strength, 9 of Wands. This card is referred to Yesod, the foundation. This brings the energy back into balance. The 9 represents always the fullest development of the force in its relation with the forces above it. The 9 may be considered as the best that can be obtained from the type involved, regarded from a practical and material standpoint. This card is also governed by the moon in Sagittarius. So here is a double influence of the moon on the tree of life. Hence the aphorism, change is stability. The wands have now become arrows. There are 8 of them in the background, and in front of them, 1 master arrow. This has the moon for its point, and the sun for the driving force behind it. Correction, above it. For the path of Sagittarius on the tree of life joins the sun and moon. The flames in the card are tenfold, implying that the energy is directed downwards. And indeed, you can see that right here on the card. You can see the sun as the driving force for this arrow with the moon at its tip. The arrow of Sagittarius. Sagittarius connecting the sun to the moon on the tree of life. All right. Now we shall look at the complete book of tarot reversals. I've noticed in my experience with reading tarot cards that sometimes, or actually a lot of times, it's the reversals that, understandably so, can be the hardest to wrap one's mind around. And so by placing a bit of a special emphasis on reversals here, we can get some more insight into it. However, I would also caution people, and perhaps I should make this caution more often that if you really want to wrap your mind around tarot cards and their reversal when learning them, I would say first learn them upright. Comprehend them really well upright. Don't even bother with the reversals at first. Focus on them upright. And then once you've really gotten deeply familiar with them upright, start incorporating reversals, start looking at them reversed, and it'll be easier to sort of feel your way as well as intellectually find your way towards the true meanings, or at least potentially true meanings, I suppose, of the reversal of the cards, or of the reverse cards. All right. Nine of Wands. The progress of the 8 is completed in the Nine of Wands. In the RWS card, the wands have reached their target and are placed as a fortification. You may anticipate being attacked by someone or even something that is not directly apparent. You could secure and oversee projects and interests, or stockpile emergency supplies, which must be protected. Like an old soldier whose wounds testify to his experience, your training, development, and discipline have resulted in moral and spiritual strength or character. Caution and wisdom suggest the need for careful assessment, for there are signs of wariness and suspicion, an expectation of difficulties, and the appearance of enemies. If so, you could delay, postpone, or temporarily halt work, although it may just be a time of rest. From many choices, you could be deciding on one at the expense of the rest. You can set yourself apart with an independence that might be isolating, and, because of emotional wounding in the past, you could hide behind self-created defenses. An inflexibility of outlook and old habit patterns could become ingrained. Strength of purpose and courage in your convictions will aid in handling hardship as you hold a line or resolutely defend what you have created. This card counters the haste of the 8 with a wait-and-see attitude. Whoa, isn't that interesting? So, as we always see, pretty much in tarot, this contrast and complementary aspects or energy of each card from one card to the next. We see here with the Nine of Wands, its energy of let's wait and see is contrasted by the Eight of Wands energy of fast movements, things happening very quickly. Or you could say the Eight of Wands energy of swiftness and quick developments is contrasted by the Nine of Wands. Let's wait and see. Let's cautiously approach the battle, the final battle. So that's very interesting. All right. Traditional Nine of Wands upright meanings: delay, suspension, adjournment, removal, estrangement, difficulties, frustration, waiting, anticipation, hidden enemies, stagnation, order, discipline, experience, strength in reverse, rest from action, correction, strength in reserve, read that wrong, rest from action, prudence, lack of motivation. And now for the Nine of Wands reversed. In the Nine of Wands reverse, the figure depicted on the RWS card seems as if he is ready to break through confinement and is looking for a way out. The obstacles and difficulties of the upright card could become more extreme, as might the loneliness and sense of alienation, which, at worst, could feel like a banishment. It might be time to tear down defenses and rejoin the human race. Alternatively, you might be trying to overcome someone else's resistance. You could be reconsidering commitments, shirking responsibility, lack discipline, or perhaps you are bored and tired of waiting for something that never comes. On the other hand, you could simply be off duty. Given a little freedom, you might be impulsive or do something rash. You might have reached a dead end in your own progress, or be experiencing career setbacks. Like a long wait in a doctor's office or airport, you might despair of ever getting going. Health-wise, a minor but prolonged illness, perhaps something chronic and nagging, and a weakened immune system can indicate a continual battle for health. In other words, your basic defenses could be weakened and impaired. In fact, you might have some personal, quote unquote, cross to bear that becomes an unwilled obstacle to achieving your ends. If you project this card onto others, you could experience them as hostile, as if defending your entry to some club or experience. Perhaps you display a false front and deny feeling suspicion or hostility yourself. You can either be overly defensive or caught off guard. This card can also represent inner knowledge and experience that is not shared or shareable with others. At the shamanic and magical level, this is related to the archetype of the wise old man, hermit, or even the dragon, who, as a gatekeeper, awaits the arrival of journeyers. It expresses the skill of discernment in the use of powers. Traditional reversed: obstacles, crosses; adversity, problems, delays, disaster; barriers to overcome, pain; slight but prolonged illness; bad luck, misfortune; sluggishness, displeasure. Okay, so that is what we have for that book. Now, do we have another book of tarot reversals here? I think we do. Yes, just a brief little entry, but nevertheless, this book is simply called Tarot Reversals. The quote-unquote last stand card has a person putting their final reserves of energy into maintaining, guarding, and supporting whatever it is they've built. There is the temptation to surrender, to give up, but if they just hold out, they will succeed. It's almost over. Reverse this, and we might well say to our poor soldier that the cavalry aren't coming. The reverse card signals either not having enough energy for that last stand or a waste of energy. Like putting all your energy into an important sales pitch and succeeding, only to find that your bosses have changed their minds about the deal. Trying to save the fort wasn't worth the effort. All right, so that is it for our books. And we now approach the final part of our Nine of Wands analysis. Indeed, the final part, the final battle, Nine of Wands, the final battle. Well, this is the final part, or maybe we could say the final act. The final whatever it is, where we look at esotericmeanings.com and their in-depth analysis of the Nine of Wands Thoth card. This person's YouTube channel is Thoth Tarot Videos, so check them out if you are interested in more of this kind of material. Thoth Tarot Nine of Wands. In the Nine of Wands, there are 8 crossed arrows in the background and a large dominant wand in the foreground. The moon is at the tip of the wand and the sun is the driving force at the top. Both astrological glyphs are at the bottom of the card. The background is dark gray at the top, going to almost black at the bottom, which of course you can see right here. Even with our mediocre technology, you can see it going from a sort of gray at the top to black at the bottom. Rider-Waite, Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands shows a wounded man holding a wand. He looks over his shoulder towards the 8 wands close behind. He seems as though he has already been through a battle and now feels threatened by the remaining wands. Oh yes, I can't believe that I did not mention this yet, that I forgot to look at this aspect of this card. So when we see all of these wands back here, just to go back to the Rider-Waite-Smith version real quick, when we see all these wands behind the figure in the card, there is indeed this idea, or this implication, at least at times, of a wall, and thus this idea of boundaries, or at least some kind of divider, some kind of division, whether that's a literal division that is being suggested or a figurative division. And it could be a literal or figurative division in the external or the internal world, I would suggest. As a side note here, and I don't even know if this relates to the energy of this card, but just as a side note, it's interesting to consider that some of the most, let's say, zealous people out there with just incredibly strong beliefs, usually, to the point of it being very unhealthy or worse, are also some of the most split off from themselves within. They're some of the most selectively identified people as well, almost like the power of their belief comes from a deep-seated unconscious fear that whatever it is they believe so strongly in is actually false. And that's why they feel the need to sort of preach it to the world so much. The classic televangelist is the perfect example of what I'm talking about, especially the really sort of zealous, over the top kinds of people like that. It's like they're some of the most self-mutilated people around, essentially, at least from my observation. That's been what I've observed. You see, most people don't think about this stuff. Most people don't think about how the human mind or the human psyche has this inherent need or tendency or predisposition or whatever to believe in something, to have the spiritual reality, to believe in something. But you see, because that's such a need, it can easily be manipulated, and you can end up believing in things that maybe you shouldn't believe in, I guess. And of course, some people are much more predisposed to that than other people, and you can look at a person's astrological chart, in fact, to determine what they'll be predisposed to. I mean, you can even look at people who are total skeptics of everything from religion to astrology, you name it, and yet in their very charts you will see the astrology say that this should be a skeptical person. So I think that's kind of funny, but I do need a tissue real quick, so I will be right back. Okay, I have returned. But I think, just to clarify the point I was just making, though, about the tendency towards belief, I think that the human race as a whole would do well to recognize this fact that we all have this part of our psyche that is designed to believe in something, so that we can then exercise control over that, or some kind of at least monitoring of that, rather than letting ourselves get swept up in all kinds of beliefs that, again, maybe we shouldn't be letting ourselves get swept up in. I can't just describe the whole universe in 30 seconds, but suffice to say, there is objective reality and subjective reality. Maybe you've heard me say many times, like Seth says in the Seth material, your beliefs form your reality. Well, yes and no. Mainly yes, but also kind of no. And I always have to qualify that statement by letting people know that while beliefs will form at least what is for all intents and purposes in our human context, the subjective part of your reality, the part of your reality that can be manipulated in that way. There's also an objective reality that, again, in the context of human experience, for all intents and purposes, cannot be manipulated no matter what you believe. So, there are certain realities that remain true for us humans no matter what someone believes. Like, for example, say someone were to be like, oh, well, since reality is just whatever I believe it to be, I'm going to believe that the coronavirus is imaginary. There's no COVID-19. It doesn't exist. And then that person goes out and exposes themselves to all kinds of people because they think, oh, well, it must not exist. That person's going to end up getting coronavirus unless they're like absurdly lucky, because it doesn't matter if you believe that there is no virus. That virus is an objective reality. Again, within our experience for all intents and purposes, at least. All right, so didn't mean to get sidetracked by that. Let's get on with things. Nine of Wands numerology. 9 is the last of the single-digit numbers and therefore represents the end of a cycle. It is closely related to the number 3. 3 times 3 equals 9. 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. Therefore, the idea of 10, 9 to 1, seems a step too far. The majority of the Thoth 9s are therefore positive, with the exception of the 9 of Swords. Yes, the 9 of Swords, which is cruelty. It is known as cruelty in the Thoth deck. And, well, I don't want to give a whole delineation of that card right now, but it has to do with the sharp, painful side of thought, how thought can be, like thought / word / communication can be used in such a way that is very painful or hurtful to yourself or others. But we'll get to that card, however many months from now when we get there. Let's see. I guess we ought to go in the order of the tarot. So we're doing Wands, Cups, Swords, Pentacles, or Discs. So it's going to be a while. As we will see in the section on astrology, the number 9 also corresponds to the middle decan of mutable signs. For the 9 of Wands, the mutable sign is Sagittarius. If you multiply the number 9 by any number, no matter how large, you will end up with a number that reduces back to the number 9 again. For example, 2 times 9 equals 18, 1 plus 8 equals 9, 4 times 9 equals 36, 3 plus 6 equals 9, 6 times 9 equals 54, 5 plus 4 equals 9, 9 times 9 equals 81, 8 plus 1 equals 9, 9 times 10 equals 90, 9 plus 0 equals 9, 20 times 9 equals 180, 1 plus 8 plus 0 equals 9. The identity of most root numbers is diminished when multiplied, but the number 9 has a universal quality that shines through no matter what number it is multiplied by. We will see how this resilient quality bears out in the 9 of Wands divinatory meaning. 9 of Wands, the Tree of Life and 4 Worlds. The Tree of Life. The flow of energy now returns to the middle pillar of the Tree of Life in the 9. Yes, that is because it corresponds with Yesod, which is basically second from the lowest Sephiroth in the middle pillar, which you can see here. Yesod in Atziluth. Associated with Yesod, the 9th Sephiroth, ruled by the moon. The 9th sphere, ruled by the moon, represents the subconscious or astral energy, with the conscious mind governed by Netzach, emotion, and Hod, intellect. When the 9th sphere is mastered, we are free of the bias of the 2 Sephirah above, and we become aware of the astral, which can range from hearing guides within to the astral planes of pure consciousness. We then begin to see the unity in all things, untainted by our personality. In my studies recently, I came across a little more information on the tree of life, which normally I don't really look into a whole lot, but it does come up from time to time. Obviously, it would, corresponding to all this occult stuff. Um, and I came across this idea of the four worlds and how basically at the highest level, you have the element of fire, and then below that, you have air. Below that, you have water, and then below that, you have earth, which corresponds to our realm. So, in other words, it's talking about the four worlds here. Well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Atziluth is the highest one. It's the realm of fire, but below that, the realm of air, whose name escapes me right now, is the realm of the intellect, of mind. Below that is the realm of water, which is emotion and also corresponds to the astral realm, what people call the astral realm, and is the one most like directly connected with our reality, I believe, if what I've read is correct. Even to the point that, again, if what I've read is correct, a lot of times that that realm, that astral realm, that water emotional realm just above ours, um, often serves as like a blueprint for what manifests in our world, in this realm, the earth realm, which is the lowest one. Um, and I believe the water realm is called Nefesh, I think. I could look this stuff up, but unfortunately, we don't have the time. So, anyway. So, yes, we then begin to see the unity in all things, untainted by a personality. Okay. Yesod being in the center of the tree, albeit low down, has connection with both Tifereth, Christ center, and Kether, pure spirit. The energy here becomes consolidated from the Sephirah above, but it is very far down on the tree. It is at the apex of the last trade. Is that supposed to say triad? I think it's supposed to say triad because that's the only thing that would make sense here. It is at the apex of the last triad, the astral triangle. The third triad builds up through the experience of incarnation, with Malkuth as its physical vehicle. So wait, this is interesting. So the energy here becomes consolidated from the Sephirah above it, but it is very far down in the tree. It is at the apex of the last triad, the astral triangle. The third triad builds up through the experience of incarnation with Malkuth as physical vehicle. Okay. And they show a little diagram of it here. It's just getting darker and darker outside for some reason. Might have to turn on some extra light. I don't know. The four worlds. In the world of Atziluth, we're looking at the world of spirit or causation, the highest of the four worlds. I was right. The calming power of the moon, at home in the 9 Sephiroth, gives Sagittarius the philosophy and spirituality this sign craves, especially when it comes to spiritual battles. Atziluth is the fiery world of inspiration, and spiritually it is a reminder that no reward in our spiritual path comes without patience. We may feel like a wounded warrior at times, but we plan to win the war. Yes, that's the spirit. Take the fight to the enemy. All right, and so, there it is. It's showing a model of this now. Yes. The four worlds in descending order are Atziluth, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiya. Our world is known as Asiya in this system. And you can see how the 9 of Wands here corresponds to Yesod, the Sephiroth Yesod in Atziluth, the highest of the four worlds. And you can see that here. Nine of Wands, astrological attributions. Decan, second decan of Sagittarius, 11 to 20 degrees, and ruled by the moon. Moon in Sagittarius. So we have a double lunar influence in this card, as the moon both rules the decan and also the ninth Sephiroth Yesod. So the moon is in a comfortable position, even in the flighty sign of Sagittarius. And you can see right here another diagram of that. Nine of Wands symbolism. All right, so I'm going to show the card here while reading this so you can follow along. Let's see, I'll hold it more like this. Okay. Yeah, that should do. Sun, conscious. Yellow is sun's energy influencing the moon. We're working kind of from the top down here. 8 moons at top plus 1 at base equal 9 Yesod. Central wand connecting sun and moon. 10 flames in background, Malkuth. Red arrows as Sagittarius is a fire sign. Arrowheads terminating in the moon. Sagittarius and moon glyphs at base of the card. All right, so paying attention to the symbolism of this card. The central dominant wand connects Tifereth, sun, with Yesod, moon, on the Tree of Life. This represents the bringing of the subconscious, moon, into the conscious, sun, and refers to our latent or hidden powers becoming awakened and applied towards something practical. That is, again, a central wand. Top of main wand, sun/moon combination, integration of conscious-unconscious. Tip of main wand, moon in Sagittarius. Directed will, Sagittarius pierces the unconscious represented by the moon, using our willpower to draw on untapped reserves of strengths. Sun has 9 wavy and 9 straight rays. 9 straight rays. 9 represents the influence of the moon. Okay, then we have it's like another diagram here. Sun with 9 wavy and straight rays representing Yesod and the moon. Yeah, so it's just a sort of a close-up of the sun with the rays numbered here. Again, looking at this, arrows are red. Sagittarius is a fire sign. 9 moons on arrow, Yesod and ninth Sephiroth. 10 flames in the background relates to Malkuth, the 10th Sephiroth, and implies that this card will relate to visible results in our life. Isn't that interesting? Almost somewhat of a connection with the Earth realm, perhaps, in this otherwise very fiery card. Very fiery and lunar card, perhaps we should say. 8 to 9 of Wands transition. This is the opposite of the energy of the 8 of Wands, which is a short burst of energy. Here we have a long-acting energy of endurance. Whilst in the past we have been able to accomplish things quickly, we are now in a situation that tests us to the limit. We have a very different task in front of us, which will require all our resources to see it through. Shemhem-Pharesh Angels of the 9 of Wands. Jarethel. Confidence, inexhaustible source of energy. Optimism. Dissipates confusion, leads to success. Liberates one from evil, propagates the light. Sia. Happy longevity. protection from accidents, caution, and foresight. Nine of Wands divinatory meanings. The Nine of Wands represents a continued directed willpower which we have exerted over a long period of time. Despite all the flux and change around us, double moon influence, we keep on going. Somehow we find the strength within us despite being exhausted. This card has been likened to climbing an endless set of stairs, and we are left wondering when we will get to the top. However, the strength detailed in this card is one which has great flexibility due to its close association with the moon. This makes us very adaptable as well as tenacious. Nine of Wands upright. You may feel exhausted, but you are ready to do what it takes to get complete to your goals. Probably is supposed to just say, do what it takes to complete your goals. A long period of study, for example. Standing your ground in the face of challenges, even though they may seem impossible to accomplish at the time. Know that obstacles are just another opportunity for growth. Now is a time to trust yourself and continue until you have accomplished what you set out to do. A situation in which we have to look deep within ourselves, moon, but be assured we have what it takes to get through this period, and we will find more harmony and balance as a result, blending of sun and moon energies. When we reach deep inside ourselves, we will discover new depths of strength and power we never thought we had, and these will bring about more balance and harmony within our life. You are able to be flexible to overcome life's challenges. The tree that can bend with the wind will survive the storm. Make sure you establish appropriate boundaries in your life so that others are not depleting your energy reserves without giving anything back. Make sure others are clear in how they can support you at this time. Recovery after a long period of sickness which has tapped your reserves of energy. You may have doubts at this time, illusion of the moon, but take confidence that you have what it takes to reach your goals. Nine of Wands reversed. Lack of flexibility in dealing with the current situation. Moon moves fast in its orbit and therefore reflects change, flux. Feeling overcome by our responsibilities and that we are not getting enough support around us to help. Not a time to take on further commitments, but manage better what you have to complete. Doubts about your own abilities and strengths are getting the better of you. You need to recognize this and reconnect with your inner strength and resolve. Swamped by our emotions, moon, which are clouding our ability to draw on our strengths to achieve our goals. A relationship breakup, for example. Feeling as if our foundation, Yesod, is being challenged and that we do not have the strength to deal with the situation in hand. You cannot seem to find a way through a situation, sun consciousness, dominated by subconscious moon. This can even result in things such as bad dreams, not sleeping, both of which reduce your capacity to function through the day. Nine of Wands and the Celtic Cross spread. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 1, heart of your situation, it may mean we have a situation in hand which is testing us to the limit and using all our resources. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 2, obstacles/challenges, it may mean feeling as if we do not have the energy to get through this situation. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 3, subconscious influences, it may mean all your habits of thinking and acting are stored in your subconscious mind. Plan positive thoughts and affirmations that will support your strength and determination to succeed in your life. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 4, your recent past affecting the situation, it may mean a period where you feel you have been tested to the limit, but have come through it and found your inner strength can get you through. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 5, your hopes and goals, it may mean to live a life that plays to your strengths and helps you to grow as a person and spiritually. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 6, your immediate future, it may mean a situation or period in your life that is likely to be very demanding of your time and resources. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 7, how you are handling the situation. When reversed, it may mean feelings of doubt and insecurity surrounding you, but you need to realize that you can turn this around by having belief in yourself and taking the time to realize that so you can move forward, taking the time to realize that so you can move forward with more confidence. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 8, your external environment, it may mean strong-willed, resourceful. Your environment, good job, for example, may be very demanding of you. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 9, guidance and warning, it may mean the need to set boundaries of what you can accomplish given your resources. Make sure others are not just simply taking from you, but also supporting you in some way. If the Nine of Wands appears as card 10, your overall outcome, it may mean developing confidence in yourself that you have the tenacity and strength to accomplish what you set out to do. This is very important for our self-growth and belief. Okay, and that is it for that website. And that about wraps up our stream for today. Let's see. Good news, we just birthed a healthy black Angus calf a minute ago. Oh, wow. Congratulations. That's pretty amazing. Like literally that happened here in like real time. That's so cool. Healthy black Angus calf a minute ago. Huh. Nice. Well, congratulations. All right. So, I want to thank those who have been here for watching and those who watch this after the fact for watching and indulging in all this knowledge, especially if you got this far. We're now more than 2 hours in. If you got this far, you're quite the sure, I guess, when it comes to this occult knowledge. So thank you for being here, and I'm glad that you found value in it. I'm just checking on a couple things as I wrap the stream up. Apparently someone unsubscribed. That's one thing that this is showing me. But so I will most likely, I should almost definitely be back on Friday around the same time, roughly 3 p.m. Eastern time, to do our astrology basics stream, where we will be talking about the planet Mercury, analyzing it, what it's about, and its meaning in astrology. So if you want to learn more about astrology, check out that stream. Or if you're just curious about Mercury, perhaps, then of course later that day I'll also have my live tarot readings for a donation of any amount stream at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Let's see. Yeah, we had to pull it by hand, but all is well. Thanks, Mr. Poetic. Great stream. Thank you so much, Ryan. You had to pull it by hand. Wow. I can't imagine. I can't imagine all of that. I am totally unfamiliar with farm life or things of that nature. But wow. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed. For those who like to keep up with my, I guess, vlogging channel, Neurotic Navigations, I should be filming a new vlog today if all goes well. And I don't know if it will actually be up and ready today or tonight, but maybe it will be, maybe it won't. But if not today or tonight, then probably tomorrow or sometime in the next couple of days. Depends on the astrological conditions. So I think that's it. Did I say everything? Did I cover everything? Anyone have any questions, concerns, further comments? I think that's about it. All right, well, we now understand the Nine of Wands deeper than ever before, or I know at least I do. So thanks again for being here, and have a great night.